Our goal was a simple one. At nearly 14,000 feet, we desired to hike to the highest point in Jalisco, Nevado de Colima. But halfway up the access road, we weren't sure if we'd even make it to the trailhead.
Well, this might be the end of the road for us.
Crap. We could cut them, the other option. An early storm had beaten us to the mountain, and now our path was unclear. But isn't that how all good adventure stories begin?
We are on our way to a volcano. We are driving a very long, windy dirt road to hopefully camp at the base, or not even the base of,
Kind of near the
most
top.
of the way up, a pretty large volcano. We are just about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Guadalajara, and we are in the park of Nevado de Colima. And yeah, we're super excited to camp at high elevation. Guadalajara was at about 6,000 feet of elevation, and before that we came from sea level. So we've, in theory, acclimated a little bit over the past week, but I think we're going to be sleeping at like 12,000 feet.
And right now we're at just over 6,000 feet.
Yeah, so we have a lot of climbing to do. It is 67 degrees Fahrenheit right now. I'm very curious to see how the temperature drops as we go up, because it's already dropped probably 15 degrees since we were in Guadalajara, where we stopped to get groceries this morning. So yeah, we're super excited to spend a few days in the woods, do some hiking hopefully, and spend some time in cooler weather.
Our original plans were to head north to Guanajuato and San Luis Potosí after Guadalajara. But when perusing topo maps, I saw the two giant peaks just a few hours south of us and knew we had to edit our itinerary. We had known there were volcanoes in southern Mexico, but we didn't know that the second most active volcano was just a few hours south of us, so we pointed the truck towards the unknown.
That says 59 degrees. Oh my god. I'm so excited.
That's the coldest temperature we have seen in months.
Smells so good out there.
Yeah. I think it's recently rained.
Yeah. It's very wet in here. I think it might actually be misting a little bit. Okay. Gotta love when the map looks like that. Switchbacks for days.
Heck yeah. That's a sweet view. Man, we're up here already. For being such a large mountain, there was relatively little written about what getting to the trailhead would entail. As we climbed, we noticed evidence of a recent storm. the first one of the impending wet season that we've heard so much about. At first, it was just some rotten trees along the road, but then the power lines got involved. As we bounced along in 4 low, we mentally prepared ourselves for the possibility of having to turn back.
Well, this might be the end of the road for us.
Crap. They're pretty low, because...
Yeah.
We played out a few different options, from simply turning back to winching the log off of the power lines, or even chopping the lines. We decided to try the least destructive option first. And since I'm just a bit taller than Heather, I got the honors of touching the power lines that we were 99% sure weren't live. And Heather tagged in to drive. We had a few tense moments of slow maneuvering, but it seemed like our plan was working. We got the truck halfway through, but then realized that I was blocking the truck's path. So I let the lines rest on the truck, and I grabbed a ratchet strap. The lowly ratchet strap has saved our butts more times than we can count. Add another one to the list. Now, we were free to continue up the mountain. Heather stayed in the driver's seat as we chugged our way up the hill. Are we in Mexico? Or are we in Oregon?
I know, this is crazy.
It's so green. Oh, jeez. God.
That was a good one.
I hit my head on the window.
Got to engage your core.
There were a few more small obstacles, but at this point, our biggest challenge was time. We were running out of sunlight. However, there was only one road to take, and we were driving slow anyways. Besides, what other option did we have? As the sun set, we were thankful that we were drawing close to where we had hoped to camp. We approached the ranger station, paid our 110 pesos total to enter in camp, and got on our way. It was at this moment that our objective came into view. The mountain looked like a mini Matterhorn in its evening colors. As we climbed the last few kilometers, I looked down at my watch. We were suddenly above 12,000 feet. By our accounts, the highest either of us had ever attempted to sleep. But thankfully, a full day of driving was enough to tire us out, and we hardly noticed the lack of oxygen. At least while we were resting. But we woke up the next day and we were tired. Perhaps it was from the altitude, or maybe it was the busy days leading up to it. So we decided to take a rest day to acclimate to the elevation and get some work done. In the early afternoon, the clouds rolled in, which were shortly followed by the rain.
It is absolutely pouring right now. I'm a little afraid about getting swept down the mountain, but man, it is so cool to be in a rainstorm. And I'm in the tent right now.
There's something magical about waiting out a storm, watching it from a relatively dry place that soothes the soul. But I did get cold, so I headed inside, where Heather made us some tea.
Yesterday it was like almost 100 degrees in Guadalajara, and today it's like 45 and dumping rain. I love it.
I'm so happy to be cold. Didn't think that was going to happen for a long time.
The next morning, we were greeted by clear skies, so we decided it would be our day to hike this volcano.
It's like 24 feet short of a 14er, so it's so close to being a 14er.
Actually, according to Wikipedia, it is above 14,000.
According to everything else, it's like 13,976. So,
right.
Rounding to the nearest 14,000, it is a 14er.
The trail was short, just under 2 miles each way, but with 2,500 feet of climbing, we knew it would be steep.
Camping at 12,000 feet the last 2 nights hopefully has allowed us to acclimate a little bit, but I'm definitely already a little out of breath, just barely walking uphill. I've actually been sleeping really well. I think Dana's been sleeping pretty well too, considering that we've been at sea level for the last 3 months and then spent like the last week around 6,000 feet, maybe 7. So this is a big jump to go up to almost 14 today. So we'll see how we feel. We used to be really nice and acclimated to elevation because when we were living in Colorado, we lived at over 7,000 feet. So this is not our normal anymore. See how our lungs do.
If you told me that we were in Colorado, I would believe you. Starting to get steep. We're going to that saddle that's right behind these trees here, and then we're going up there. Oh.
Because the trail was so steep, we were greeted by views almost immediately. But we could also see how fast weather had the opportunity to move in, and our minds went to the worst case scenario.
Okay, so Dana and I are having a spirited debate right now, and we need your input. We just found out, or just realized, that our iPhones are connected to satellite for texting, which we've always known we had that in the US, but until recently, we did not have it in Mexico. So we are talking about whether, now that our phones are capable of being satellite connected in case of emergency, do we still want to keep our inReach? My thought is that phones are fragile and the batteries die quickly. And so I think having the inReach as a backup is a good option. Plus, it's a newer technology for the iPhone within the last year, I think.
2 years.
Couple years. And I don't know if it's been proven yet to be as effective in an emergency as the inReach, which has been around for a long time and has saved many, many lives. So we'd love your input. What do you think? Should we keep our inReach or just stick with our iPhones now that they connect to satellite? Of course, this whole conversation is moot because when we get out of Mexico and into Guatemala and further south, I'm sure we'll lose this ability again. So it's not like we're getting rid of the inReach. It's more of the thought-provoking conversation.
Are you Team Heather or Team Dana? Team inReach or Team iPhone?
Let us know. And if you think we're stupid, let us know too.
They already do that.
Just be nice about it. All right, onwards and upwards. It's getting steep.
As we climbed, our eyes were scanning for weather, and our ears were listening for distant thunder. Weather forecasting for such a big mountain is always a challenge, and being on the tallest point for hundreds of miles is about the worst place you can be in a thunderstorm. But while we were a bit on edge about the weather, we felt right at home among the steep slopes and the scree fields. While we love this grand adventure that we're on, we would be lying if we said that we didn't think about what we're missing in Colorado, especially as we see our friends enjoying the beginning of summer. But being here made us feel grounded. The elevation, the pine trees, and the wide open spaces were just the taste of home that we needed. This is what we should be doing. Yeah, this is good. So easy when we're traveling to just go to the touristy spots because that's what the internet says and that's what all the people we meet say. But all these places are a little bit harder to find. They're just so worth it. Man, this is so special. As we reached the saddle that we'd been plotting for, we were given a treat. A little encouragement to keep climbing, just in case we needed it. Our volcano's twin, which is just a bit shorter but also happens to be the second most active volcano in Mexico, was out of the clouds for just long enough to catch a glimpse. But the clouds that had vacated the other peak were now headed in our direction. Looking towards our objective, all we saw was fog, and we wondered if we had missed our opportunity to reach the summit. Thankfully, the fog was moving so quickly that we got patches of clear skies every few minutes, and we had not heard any rumblings. So we kept climbing.
Make it look so easy because your legs are so long.
For me, the 13,000-foot level is where I really start to feel the elevation. The air has 40% less oxygen available, and it's at this point where I start to need to rest after every other step. The rock is so yellow, I think it's like sulfur. See if it smells. Yep, smells. Slightly. We lost the trail at numerous times among the steep and cliffy terrain. But we always kept finding it right before reconsidering our route. This is wild up here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they even have a trail here.
Yeah. The steepness of the last few hundred vertical feet was impressive, and there were places where even a small slip would be disastrous. And after a few more pitches, something incredible happened. We found ourselves above most of the clouds.
Sun's coming out.
And we somehow escaped the wind that had battered us all the way up the mountain. By all accounts, it was a sunny, beautiful day at the summit. We met a handful of other people at the top enjoying the sun before making the trek down the mountain. Of all the mountains that we've climbed in Colorado and New England, time spent at the summit was usually filled with putting on all the layers we had, grabbing a quick picture, and heading back down. But today, this was the nicest spot to be for miles. So we just hung out, took photos, and enjoyed a beer.
A little pressurized.
It's rare to find weather this nice on the summit of such a high peak. It was a gift. There are moments on a trip you know you'll remember. Moments that don't require photographs. Moments that, while only lingering seconds, will stay with you for years. And in case you didn't pick up on it, this was one of those moments. If you've made it to the end, I hope we've earned your subscription. You can also find us on Instagram or support our journey on Patreon. Thank you to all the wonderful people who have supported us so far. We really appreciate it.